Doors of Central High, soldiers guarding. Title, Inside Central High School.
Gym
Dead
class,
Gitchell.
of course, was an opportunity for white boys who wanted to express their bigotry to do it. I can remember we were playing softball and all of a sudden Terrence was hit in the back of the head by a rock. It bloodied his head. Nobody knew who threw the rock.
Individuals could do things with impunity. Nobody was going to tell on them. If somebody threw the baseball when I wasn't looking, they could always say, well, he was on the team. He should have been catching the ball, whatever. And we caught hell from as many people as possible, it seemed.
We had the soldiers inside the school, of course. They could go everywhere but the restrooms. And the poor boys and the nine I know had their heads flushed in the toilets.
If the guard was on my right, my books were on my left. And my books was used as a shield.
Gloria
we would put
Ray
our books in our
Carmark.
lockers, and they would come and throw urine or feces or whatever in the locker, so your books would be destroyed. My math books I kept with me always. They never got those books.
There was no protector in that school. My guard was my protector, but then he had to go.
Colonel
People
Cook.
we had in there were very committed. They were very dedicated people. They were mistreated to some extent by the white students. Their parents, some of them were very adamant about them not attending school with blacks.
Oh, it's like Walking Dead. It was no life. In the school, we didn't meet each other. The other nine, I didn't share one class with another black person.
The only time the nine got together was lunchtime. And mainly what we did was sit around giggling.
At a lunch table.
Because that's a form of resistance. You feel just so vulnerable that if somebody just changed their minds right then and there and decided, let all hell break loose, there would be nobody to take care of me, and there would be no one who cared enough about me to keep me safe somehow.
Margaret Ann Johnson
I
Swatty.
remember when they started coming into chapel before school, because it was so dangerous for them, they couldn't get out and wander around like we did.
The guards would bring us in, and we had too much time between that time and school starting. So the safest place was going to the chapel. Those students that were there in the morning and in chapel services, we knew that we were accepted by them. Not that they were overwhelmingly accepting us, but it was a calmness there.
This is a public high school, but they allowed the kids to have a room. In the morning, some kids would go to have chapel. We'd stay there from 8 to 8:30. Nice time to just kind of just be refreshed before we start our lessons. Then we noticed that some of the angels in the chapel were some of the devils in the hall.
Hallway with students.
Teachers were afraid. I could see the fear. My English teacher, she was so terribly unwelcoming. She said to me one day, why do you want to come to our school? Why don't you go back to your own school?
Classroom with students.
So I was on my own in her class.
If you get hit by something, if something is sprayed on you or spit on you, or you just try to go through it, get to your destination.
There had been times when the National Guardsmen would report that they didn't see what we saw. We had to report incidences every day. We stopped doing that because it was fruitless. It was pointless.
Front steps, National
The principal
Guard.
didn't pay attention to anything unless a teacher reported that corroborated what we said. Even when Minnie Jean's mother saw her being kicked, he didn't do anything.
I had gone to pick her up, and as she came out, this boy ran up behind her and kicked her. I hopped out the car and tried to catch the guard, and he just completely ignored me.
They were throwing rock-filled snowballs at us as we were trying to leave school. That's the only thing that ever was in the local paper.
They perceived themselves as some sort of patriots. They were going to be remembered as heroes for protecting the Southern way of life.
I remember when we were scalded in the gym shower. I didn't hear a peep out of the girl on the right of me or the left of me, so they had to have been warned before the water turned suddenly scalding hot. There were a lot of silent witnesses. In fact, the majority of them were silent witnesses.
They intimidated the few white students who wanted to befriend us. So they isolated them and intimidated or threatened their families, businesses, and called them up in the middle of the night and all of that. I called them nigger lovers.
I was blacklisted partly because Melba became a friend of mine at the time, and we would walk down the halls together, or I'd show her a way she could go where she could miss this crowd over here or something.
They don't want me in the school. They want to, want me to quit. As long as I don't quit, I'm a winner.
African American teenage boys